Good morning and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Ask the Attorney. Thank y'all for coming back, and thank you so much for all of your commentary, questions, inquiries, emails, messages, phone calls. I have been provided so much insight from all of y'all, and I love the ability to address all these immigration issues that y'all are encountering right now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. My plan is to be posting a weekly video on how to do your own applications, do your own pardons, do your own expedites, do your own RFE responses, because I think that most of this can be done without an attorney. With that said, I think certain things should be done by an attorney, such as hardship letters, general guidance as to what to do in a very difficult situation, what to do about certain criminal convictions, etc. I will be going over that in the future. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and comment whatever I'm missing. Please feel free to criticize me and tell me exactly what you need to hear from me next video. Okay, so my first tip would to be dividing your waiver. You have to organize your waiver in an obvious way. So my first tip would be buy yellow sheets of paper. Then each section is going to be divided between a yellow sheet of paper that's going to have a big, huge labeling across it horizontally. So my first label would be forms. So that'll be my form tab. That's your very first tab. After you place the form tabs down, you're going to have three documents. Your first document is going to be your 601 or your 601A application. Your second document is going to be the fee receipt for the NVCPs that you paid. And the third document is going to be your approval from your I-130 application. After your forms tab, you're going to be moving on to declarations, or you can probably say affidavits. This will be your second tab. It should be yellow and it should say declarations or affidavits. After you put this tab down, you're only going to want two hardship declarations. One should be written from the perspective of the beneficiary, and one should be written from the perspective of the petitioner. I will probably go over this in a second video, but I definitely recommend not writing it yourself. Having an experienced immigration attorney write them. They're super important, and they're really just the key to your entire packet. Okay, and after you are finished with step number 2, we will move on to step number 3, which is financial hardship. Now, this is a pretty big packet, but this really includes anything pertaining to your case when it comes to financial hardship. So typically I'd recommend every kind of monthly statement that you could find. This includes household bills, rent, mortgage, credit card statements, student loans, any kind of monthly payment that you make on anything, especially car insurance. A lot of people forget that. This also includes any kind of financial documents, such as a loan that you're currently applying for, student loans that you're currently applying for, FAFSA documents, anything that would allege that you as a petitioner would suffer hardship without the beneficiary. So let's say that the petitioner is a stay-at-home mom and the beneficiary is the sole income driver in the family. So if the beneficiary were to leave to the country that they are currently from, really what would happen to this person financially? How would she be able to pay, and how would we establish financial hardship on behalf of the petitioner? So how I would do this is I would say, well, all of these bills you can't pay without the beneficiary. So what if it's your husband as the beneficiary, and your husband, you're trying to allege that if he were gone, you can't pay these bills without him? Explain it in paper. It doesn't matter what you say on your hardship letter if you cannot back it up with evidence. So any kind of bill that you're making any kind of payment on, any kind of financial hardship, like you have a past due notice, I would definitely recommend you include this in your financial hardship document. Financial hardship cannot be big enough. A lot of people question, like, does it seem like I can't support them? No, I would move on to from that. We can talk about that in our next video when it comes to affidavit of support, but a lot of people are understanding of the American dream, and of when you have kids, it's a partnership. Sometimes one person makes more money than the other, and it requires two to support a household. So the better that you can explain that in any kind of evidence, the better and stronger your financial hardship is. All right, now that you're done with financial hardship, you will be moving on to medical hardship. So place your financial hardship packet down at another label, yellow piece of paper that says medical hardship in big, bold, obvious letters. After you put this down, you're going to be including any kind of medical hardship on behalf of the petitioner. Now, I want to make a note. None of this is about the beneficiary. None of this is about the kids or anyone else. It has to be hardship on the petitioner only. That's super important. I have a lot of clients who come to me after having a failed and rejected waiver who tell me, you know what, apparently I don't have enough hardship. I'm like, well, did you talk about yourself? Did you talk about how it would be hard on you if the beneficiary were to leave? And they say, well, I talk about my kids, my family. And I'm like, they are not the person petitioning for the immigrant. It is so imperative that you only speak about the petitioner. All right, rant over. Next step, moving on to medical hardship. Now, this is when we are going to discuss any and all kind of medical hardship on behalf of the petitioner. This means if there's, any kind of medical issues, like any medical issues, like I talk about sleep apnea because it's super common in a lot of my clients, any kind of sleep disorders, anxiety, any kind of psychological issues, even just as basic as allergies, I want you to discuss it, and I want you to discuss how you need the beneficiary to help you with that medical hardship. Now, this will be going back to the hardship letter, which I will be going over in probably my next video. So let's say, for example, I have a petitioner who has severe allergy attacks or maybe severe anxiety attacks, and they need their husband to do something as simple as helping them manage their symptoms or watching the kids while they deal with their symptoms and get their meds. Anything that they can't do without the beneficiary when it comes to that medical issue, I want you to support with evidence. This means like I went over in my EXPEDITE video, any kind of medical lab reports, signed and notarized letter from your doctor explaining the issue and how long they've been seeing you on official letterhead, prescription medications, therapy notes, really anything when it comes to any kind of medical document in reference to that medical issue. Okay, now once you are done with medical hardship, your next divider will be educational hardship. This includes any kind of student loans, college transcripts. So let's say that the petitioner is in school still. I would include transcripts, courses, anything related to your education that you're currently pursuing. I would also include student loan documents, FAFSA documents, any kind of student loan payments. This also includes your kids, actually. This one does pertain to your kids. So if the petitioner is currently dealing with having to take the kids to school, if your kids are in school, or if they're in high school, I want those transcripts. I want yearly school reports. Anything pertaining to any kind of education, financially, academically, and intellectually that the kids or the petitioner is involved in, I want you to include in this step. Next, we'll be going over strong ties to the United States. This includes any kind of strong ties that the beneficiary or petitioner has to the United States. To summarize, immigration really wants to know that you have assimilated and basically contributed to your community as a potential United States citizen. They don't want people coming over here and not really caring to get to know United States culture. They see that as potentially fraudulent and probably insulting. So when it comes to this, it's really kind of broad, but I typically recommend any kind of group membership, including churches, any kind of sports teams, any volunteer work. I would want proof of all that. So a lot of people are like, how do I get proof of volunteer work? This really includes, if you're volunteering at just a soup kitchen, I would just get a signed and dated letter from someone in charge, basically proving that. And then I would probably include, any kind of certificates of title that you have. So if you purchased a house, you purchased a car, you've made any kind of economic donation to anything in the United States, I will include. Now, this is a gray area, so this is when I actually include the client and I ask them, I want you to think, I want you and I to think together, how have you contributed to the United States as a potential United States citizen? And we actually come up with a lot. All right, so the next step will be favorable factors. This is probably even more of a gray area because it really just includes anything that you would think and would impress someone at USCIS or NBC. So what I usually include are a ton of family photos, pictures of the family involved in any kind of celebration in the United States, like holidays, get-togethers, barbecues, anything like that. I would also include your marriage certificate, and I would include birth certificates of your children. This really just establishes that, hey, we've lived here a long time. We've really assimilated the culture. We are a good family. We're not just here for the wrong reasons. We're not going to get up and leave. This is a good fit for us. All right, so the last step will be arrest records. Obviously, this is not a requirement for everyone, only for those applicants, aka beneficiaries, who have a criminal record in the United States. Only the United States, no other country. So with this, I would include a complete record of that crime. So it has to be a certified record, and you can request a copy of that at your local courthouse where the crime was basically occurred. But it has to be certified. And even if you don't know what certified means, it just means it was, signed by a judge. Whoever you request that from should know what that means. If not, that's a problem. You also are going to include any completion of court-ordered fines, court-ordered requirements such as like diversion or volunteering or anything like that. Usually includes a few classes, so you're going to want completion and proof of those classes. You're also going to want to include rehabilitation of your character, meaning you're going to want to prove that you have changed as a person after the crime was committed. So let's say I have a client who committed a DUI. I would say you better have gone to AA or some kind of voluntary courses after the courses that you were ordered to complete by the judge. I would also include that as well. And I always recommend that you do volunteer work. Don't ever submit a waiver without proof of volunteer work anyway. I think it always makes you look better. But specifically for a criminal background, you're going to want to include volunteer work. All right, so that concludes my 8 ways of dividing your 601 or 601A waiver, aka pardon application. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post weekly videos on how to process your own applications. Just a quick note, I work for DIY Consular Processing. That stands for do it yourself, because I believe that a lot of out-of-court immigration applications, such as the pardons here, can be done by yourself. I don't think you particularly need to contract with an attorney for the entire consular process. This means that, I think you definitely need help and guidance by an immigration attorney, because now is not the time to make mistakes. I don't think that you need to spend thousands of dollars on applications such as the pardon. To just summarize, we offer various applications for do-it-yourself. We offer do-it-yourself 601s, I-130s, affidavit of support, DS-260s. We also write hardship letters professionally. We will tell you exactly how to tailor your own waiver, so we'll do kind of personal packages for you. I also offer virtual personal representation. And so I offer a lot of packages for people who cannot afford an immigration attorney themselves. We write expedites as well. We complete RFE packages. So we kind of do everything. So please don't hesitate to reach out on my email below. Give us a call on our WhatsApp number below as well, or hit up our website or Facebook. Let me know what you need help with. Let me know what you can't afford, and let's see if we can't work something out.